Here we go, episode 128 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I'm Michael Merlo. That's John Michael Masiri. Our fourth annual MLB prediction show. Cannot wait for this one. Before we start, some major housekeeping to do. Cannot wait for this episode. Going to be all baseball. Little NFL news today, the owners and the GM meetings, but we got time for that.
Obviously.
And March Madness, forgot about that. Oh, kind of an ass tournament. Whatever. This episode of the Hardline Sports Talk is powered by NSC Windows and Marvin Windows. Come check out their newest showroom at 5340 Merrick Road in Massapequa. For more information, check out their websites, nscwindows.com and marvin.com. Thanks to them. So appreciative.
Nice
All right,
sweatshirts, too. They got some nice
our
merch.
stuff.
Same
our
exact,
merch.
yeah. Shout out. No free ads. Shout out Carhartt Rain Defender, too. No free ads, though.
No,
Yeah, no
free,
free ads.
free ad right there.
Yeah, NSE. No Carhartt free ads.
Free ad for Carhartt there just now. Okay, now we're set. Oh, also, make sure you're liking and subscribing on YouTube, of course. Liking, submitting comments on, if you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate the support. And, of course, our social media accounts. Okay, now it's baseball time.
Doing good. I'm doing good.
Well,
I had a good
weekend.
Had fun weekend. Yep, good weekend.
There was a lot to do,
No, I'm good.
so I'm sorry.
Good. All good.
I really, when we have so much to do, I don't really care how your weekend was.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm kidding.
No,
Okay.
I'm offended. It's all right.
That's fine. We don't really want to touch the show. Do we want to talk about Shohei quickly? I forgot to.
I mean,
very quickly before we get into it. I mean, it's a really confusing story.
It's sketchy.
It's very sketchy.
All I'm saying is, if you're going out there in a press conference and you're not taking any questions, there's a reason. There's a reason.
It's very controlled. Only 2 networks are allowed to be there. The regional network, Sports LA, I forget what they call it, and MLB Network, of course, was allowed to be there. That's it. That's it. We could touch on that when we get more information, but still, it's very cloudy. Very, very cloudy there. But, Jam, this is fun. This is exciting. Yep. Baseball season is finally here, and, we love these prediction shows. We do it with the NFL. We've done it now, like we mentioned. This is our 4th one with baseball. And I'm pretty pumped. And we're obviously going to start in the American League East. But before we get there, we're just going to kind of give a rundown of what we're going to do. We're going to go through each division, talk about each team. After that, we're going to rank the teams. We're going to give over-under win totals on all of these teams. Our awards, we're going to give some value pick awards, some sleeper awards with high value in terms of the gambling market. So we're very excited for this. All planned out and nicely done by both of us. JM, the American League East, that's your division there.
Yep.
We'll start off with, I think, what a lot of people consider the favorite in the division, the Baltimore Orioles. What do you kind of think of them?
Yeah, I agree. So I have their win total. It's 89.5. I'm taking the over there. Some really nice additions in the offseason of Corbin Burns and sort of one I think that some people forgot about, Craig Kimbrell. That's a nice veteran presence who's still chugging. Seems like he's bouncing around from team to team, but he's still producing and doing very well as a reliever, and he'll be closing out plenty of games for them. I really like them. That lineup is scary. The fact that their farm system is still so good after all the trades that they've made is scary. Jackson Holliday should be on that roster at some point. I think Gunnar Henderson's going to have a really, really nice season. The Orioles are scary, and I definitely agree with the over of 89.5 there.
I think I just figured something out. Okay. That's just not related to anything that's been said yet, but something that was said before. I think I just figured something out. There we go. Yes, I will concur the over 89.5. I think a lot of people are still a little weary of this team just because they're so young, and I think that's why Vegas has kind of set this number a little bit lower than I believe it should be. They are going to go into the season with some injuries, though.
Well, they had that. Go ahead and talk about the injuries like you were just going to mention.
Bradish or Brandish?
Bradish. I go with Bradish.
Bradish.
I go Bradish.
It's Bradish. It's Kyle Bradish. Yeah. He's slated to be their number 2, number 3 starter. He's going to miss some time to start the season, and it actually might be more than just the start of the season. He has got a little UCL sprain there, which never really ends up good when you talk about the UCL.
There. Yeah.
John Means is going to start the year on the IL as well. Now, the ownership change coming very, very soon. They could be a team that would not shock me if Jordan Montgomery signed there.
Wow.
Like right as the season starts.
I don't mind that. I was just about to mention that. I feel like the Orioles were one of those possible regression picks going into the offseason to forecast the 2024 season, but they fortified that rotation and they fortified the bullpen. They made the Corbin Burnes move that we're not used to seeing out of the Baltimore Orioles, of making a big statement like that and going out and getting one of the best pitchers in the game. So they lost. They were in a lot of one-run games. Maybe you're on the right side of luck a bit last year and won more games than they should have. But I think Corbin Burnes and some of the additions they made in the offseason makes them a strong contender.
I don't think it shocks anybody, though, if they do have that regression where, maybe they don't win 100 games, but they win 93 games, 94 games, and maybe that might be enough to win the American League East this year. And there's a regression, sure, but maybe they could become a better team as well from that division. I think is a little better with the Yankees being better, and you could make the argument that the Rays are going to be a little bit better this season. So there's definitely room for that regression, but also just still a dominant team. They're a problem for years to come. Okay, let's move on here. Boston Red Sox.
My bad. My fault.
They've got the over-under set at 77.5, right?
Yeah.
And they've done basically nothing this offseason. And the move they did make this offseason, Lucas Giolito, he's missing the entire season most likely. No. What is there to like about this team
much.
other than Tristan Casas? What is there to like?
Netflix documentary is coming.
Yes. Yeah. Huge Netflix documentary.
That's what's to like.
You know what sucks? Like,
it's going to be a boring ass documentary.
I'm a sucker for those kind of like shows and, documentaries.
Yep.
I'll be locked into that.
Oh, yeah, so will I.
I'll be locked in.
Yeah, no, that'll be good.
And I won't be hate watching like you will be.
I will be hate watching.
I'm not going to be hate watching. I'm going to be like, I'm into this.
These are my notes on the Red Sox. Okay, first of all, under 77.5 wins.
Yeah, I would concur that under.
Okay, under. All caps, ass team. Good vibes in the clubhouse, though. That's what Alex Cora said the other day, that if there was... You always love when your manager says, if there was a gauge on vibes, we'd be at the top of the league. That's all he can say about his team going into 2024 is the vibes are good. Good vibes.
That's a problem.
Yeah. They lose Adam Duvall, Chris Sale, Justin Turner. This rotation, Brian Bello could be a nice surprise guy for them. They have a lot of faith in him. Did they signed him to an extension? If I'm not wrong,
6-year, like $60 million.
Yeah, they signed him to one of those extensions, banking on the fact that he's going to be great and avoid all the arbitration and this and that. But this rotation is brutal. The lineup, the depth is not good at all. They signed Tyler O'Neill this offseason, but I'm not loving the Red Sox.
Yeah, when you say and we're both very confident in this team going under 77.5 wins, it's because the rotation consists of Brian Bello, Nick Pivetta, Cutter Crawford, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Hoke, who a couple of these guys they would like to be in the bullpen because they'd be nice bullpen pieces, and instead they're in the middle of their rotation. So when we talk about lack of depth, whether it's in the starting rotation, whether it's with their starting lineup, that's why there are major problems, not only with this team, but with the organization and the way they've been running things lately. Yeah. And this is why
their own players have said it. Rafael Devers has come out and said it. So
this team is headed for the gutter. That's where they will be this season. JM, your New York Yankees.
Yes. Your
New York Yankees, who have dealt with a lot thus far in spring training. You had the major injury scare with Garrett Cole, who I think it's still in a little bit of limbo where you're not feeling 100% about him coming back and being the guy we know he is. And then there's also other questions within the starting rotation as well. They're relying on some bounce backs from a couple of guys. Also, again, to just stay healthy. Yeah. Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon. For me, at 90.5, I go under. Okay. Just because of the question marks I think I have with the starting rotation and overall depth of the roster. But this is still a playoff team, in my opinion.
I'm going to disagree with you here about the over-under. I took their over 90.5 wins. It's not a strong over. I don't think the Yankees are going to end up winning 100 games, but I could see them around that 92-70 mark that they were at a couple of years ago when they lost to the Red Sox in the wild card. I believe they were 92-70 or 91-71. I could see them right around there, so I'm taking the over very slightly here, but agreed. It's because of the rotation, the fact that that Garrett Cole has gotten hurt. If Garrett Cole was healthy, I would be very confident in this over. But how's that rotation going to hold up? Are they going to make a move? Are they going to make a Jordan Montgomery move? Are they going to have to make a trade before the July deadline to go out and get a starting pitching help? How are they going to go about this? I'm not sure. The thing that makes me confident in the over is I just think that lineup is going to be massively improved from last year. I think you had a blending of you're going to have a blend of better health. I think Anthony Rizzo not playing concussed is going to help a lot. And obviously the addition of Juan Soto, and not to sleep on the addition of Alex Verdugo. We'll see how, an Austin Wells plays now in a full season. If he could be a serviceable catcher. I think they really fortified their outfield depth. So I'm fairly confident in the lineup, but it's just how's that starting pitching going to hold up?
Yankees were my World Series pick before Garrett Cole went down.
Yeah.
And with these arm injuries, elbow injuries, to be more specific, it just scares the crap out of me. And I say, okay, you know what? Let's move off of that. And that's kind of what I did with the Yankees here. But, 2 weeks ago when we're getting ready to, sit down and really go through our predictions, the Yankees were the team I had winning the World Series. So I still think this is a playoff team.
Break my heart a little bit.
I'm always right, and I'm a genius, and I know these things beforehand. And
Fade holding up good, by the way.
It did.
How many days post-fade?
Just 7
1
days.
week?
1 full week.
That's pretty good for 1 week
I know.
post-fade.
I'm really happy.
That's nice.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
He definitely did a good job this time. He doesn't pay us, though, so I'm not giving a...
no free ads. No free ads. No free promos.
The next team. Mm-hmm. A team that everybody predicts every year they're going to fall off. And then they don't fall off. And whether they make the playoffs or not, they're still there and they're still stingy. And you look up and you say, wow, that guy had that great of a year. Wow, maybe he's a star in this league. Wow, they signed this pitcher. Wow, he might be a Cy Young candidate this coming season. The Tampa Bay Rays, formerly the Devil Rays. Over under 85.5. You just mentioned a kind of over that you don't feel strongly about. Or a kind of over you just see them as a 91, 92 win team, just a win above that over under mark. That's where I see this blue.
So you're just taking the easy road out here. You're just saying
they're an 86 win team.
I'm not gonna heavily evaluate this team. I'm just knowing the history of this team. They're gonna find a way to win over.
I heavily evaluated the team.
See, it's a scared move.
No, it's not a scared move.
No,
I think they're an over. I think they're an over 85.5 win team. I just don't think they make the playoffs. And it's a tight window there. Okay. I think they're an 85, 86 win team.
That's a fair enough take to say they're not going to make the playoffs. I have them under. The reason why I have them under, first of all, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Rays on completing yet another cycle of developing a young ace and then trading him away to a big team for prospects. Right?
You know what? He's a little bit different, though.
Great job.
Glasnow's a little bit different,
Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, Chris Archer, David Price, James Shields, the list, they live on.
Glasnow's never healthy. He's never healthy. He's never there.
No.
So if they could get something for him, which they did, I am not opposed to trading him because giving him the contract even the Dodgers gave him is a little bit of a risk.
Yeah. No, I understand. The rotation is what worries me. And I know the Rays are notorious for, they invented the opener and they always seem to find a way to find these underdog pitchers and get the best out of them. But at some point it needs to become a concern. And it was a concern last year. The Rays actually were the opposite of what they usually are. Is their lineup is what carried that team last year. They had some really surprising years out of Isaac Paredes, Harold Ramirez, Yandy Diaz. Some guys had really, really good years. But I'm looking at the rotation right now. Zach Eflin, Aaron Savali, Zach Littell, Tyler Alexander, Ryan Pepio. You have the injuries to Taj Bradley and Shane Baz. They'll be back. Obviously, Shane McClanahan going down to Tommy John was big. Drew Rasmussen. They've dealt with plenty of injuries in the pitching staff. But we're not talking about an MLB The Show rating here. We're talking about how are they going to play in 2024. Those are real things that you have to deal with. So I think, looking at your 4-starter is a guy you claimed off of waivers from the Detroit Tigers. I'm not confident about the rotation being able to hold up in such a stacked division and a pretty heavily stacked American League.
Yeah, it's a tough division. The American League's got a lot of teams. I don't hate the underpick. To me, this isn't a playoff team. And again, the injuries at pitching, you're 100% right. I'm looking at the bottom half of that starting rotation, and I'm like, I've never heard of you. No. But again, with their history, not to have a lazy take, it just happens. And you don't need to know. It's just like, okay, these guys are going to be good. But Eflin was, very good last season. And it kind of shocked people. He signed a contract. I think he signed for $50 million, something like that. Cheap contract. He was very, very good last season.
Did you know that about Jose Siri, that story that came out years ago? It turned into a meme. Apparently, he bat flips off of pitchers that he believes are racist.
I did not know that.
Look out for that.
I will be looking out for that
Jose Siri bat flips this year.
Is that true?
I'm not sure if it's a real article or just a meme, but I've seen it before.
Interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah, just side note.
Last team here in the American League East. the Toronto Blue Jays. I have 2 picks I feel very strongly about, over-under-wise in each league, okay? And at 86.5 wins for this Toronto Blue Jays team, I feel very good about the under.
That's good. That's a good call right
I
there.
know JM loves that. And by the way,
there.
just go back to the last 3 years we've done this. How many times have I had the Blue Jays to win this division?
You picked them in the World Series?
At least once in the last 3 years, I've had them to win the World Series. I got to get to the World Series.
I got to give you credit. I think this is a bit of like a salty pick? Is this they've hurt you so many times that you're going to go with the under now?
They've made me look like an idiot a couple of times. I do not have them in the playoffs. But you look at let me just pull up their projected lineup for a second, and you look at the bottom half of this lineup, you're like, hey, you know what, Michael,
I got it.
You're a genius.
I got it in
there.
front of me right now. George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Justin Turner, Dalton Varsho, Alejandro Kirk.
Okay, so
that's good.
Their cleanup hitter is Justin Turner, who's 55 years old, and sure, he can still hit the ball a little bit. But he's your cleanup
but
hitter.
Honestly, that's a good 1 through 6. Like that is Dalton Varsho could have a really nice year. Alejandro Kirk has proven that he can hit in the big leagues. He's been a professional hitter. Then you just go, it turns into like defense specialists and Kevin Biggio. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier, IKF, and Kevin Biggio. That's
the fact that IKF is going to be starting at third base for this team. How long was Matt Chapman out there for? Listen, I'm not the biggest Matt Chapman fan, but for this team, it made a ton of sense for them to bring him back. I have a little bit of a problem with the lineup, and again, Justin Turner can still hit. I agree, it's a good top 6. I don't know if I would work it like this, but Justin Turner's up there in age, and if you told me he had that, drop off, now we're looking at 5 guys we trust, and then we're talking about a George Springer who's never healthy, and Bo Bichette's not great defensively at shortstop, and Vlad's Vlad, and he's fantastic at the plate. But
Vlad has not been fantastic at the plate recently. I mean, he's been a bit of an up and down. I mean, he was almost the American League MVP a couple of years ago. These past couple of years now, he's starting to fade back into that territory. I'm not sure how the hell he finessed his way onto the MLB The Show cover. That's a story for another day.
Well, in what kind of way? Because we look at that 21 season, and any other year he's an MVP when he hits 48 home runs. And, I mean, you're right. Last season was kind of an year for him.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. He had 1 F4 last year, 26 home runs in 156 games, especially as a first baseman where he's not playing above average defense. What value are you providing? That's where his bat's supposed to really make up for it. It hasn't.
Last season, he was very underwhelming. I mean, the year after, he basically had, he comes in second in the American League MVP voting, which, again, was a fantastic year in 21. Yeah. That 22 season, I can't get on him completely. He was still really good.
I can't give the playoff distinction to this team, especially looking at that rotation. The bottom half of it is not good. Kevin Gausman made a really strong contention for my AL Cy Young pick this year, but I mean, you look at the bottom half of that rotation. You're talking about Yusei Kikuchi, a guy who over his career has more 5 ERA seasons than 3 or 4s. So I don't trust the bottom of that rotation. I don't trust that pitching staff enough to keep this team in contention.
There we go. We're in lockstep with the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, Jam, how do we have this before we get out of here? How do you see the standings coming out here?
So I took the over on the Yankees and the Orioles win totals, and then the other 3 teams I took their unders. However, I did pick the Orioles to win more games than the Yankees. I have the Orioles coming in first place, Yankees in second, Blue Jays in third, Rays in fourth, and Red Sox in fifth.
And I had this one as the Orioles coming in first, the Yankees in second, both of them making the postseason. The Rays in third, the Blue Jays in fourth, and the Red Sox in fifth. Those 3 missing the postseason.
So we just flip-flop Rays, Blue Jays then.
Yes.
Nice.
There we go. The Yankees and Orioles, obviously, both playoff teams for you as well.
That was solid. Time efficient.
You think so?
Yeah, what do we like?
Not really.
Maybe we get more efficient. All right,
we can get more efficient.
Speed it up. Oh, you want to talk about a division you could run through real quick?
Pause. This division sucks. Okay, I mean this division is terrible. We'll start with arguably, I don't even think it's arguably the worst team in the division, the Chicago White Sox here in the American League Central. 61.5 wins. I was telling JM before we got on here, all the bad teams in these last place teams, aside from the Red Sox actually. And I think, that's it. Every last place team I went over because the teams are never as bad as we think they're going to be. So I'm just going to give the White Sox an over here and say they're maybe just a 100 loss team instead of a 101 loss team. But like that's where they are. They're a really bad baseball team with one of the worst rotations in the entire league.
I'm not going to really spend any more time on the White Sox, but I took their under. I think they're just going to be like really awful. But yeah.
Luis Roberts, the only thing. And even still, Roberts never really healthy.
Who's their opening day guy? Is it Garrett Crochet or is it Kopech? It's one of the.
Oh, hold on. I'll find that for you because this is riveting.
It's guys that they thought were going to be elite relievers for them back in the day, and now they're like, yeah, you'll be a starter.
Sorry.
Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, Garrett Crochet.
Yep.
Michael Soroka, big time pitching prospect.
Yep.
Remember him?
Yep. They're basically like a rehab facility.
Eric Fetty should be the opening day guy.
It's
a guy I really wanted on the Mets and like seriously wanted him earlier in the offseason. Not to get too nerdy. All right, the Cleveland Guardians, 79.5 is the win total here. I debated having the Guardians be my division champion. Ultimately, I settled for them to be in second place. I do go over. I think they're an 80-win ball club at least because of the top three of this rotation in Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, and of course Tanner Beebe.
Yeah,
I gotta know exactly. I gotta learn exactly how to see it.
Bibby.
Fantastic rookie season last
Bibby.
year. McKenzie has injury history, has had some struggles staying healthy, but when he's on, man, he's one of the better pitchers in the American League, as we've seen. And of course, Bieber. I mean, Bieber, same thing. He's got to be healthy, and he's going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
So, in a contract year,
how about Ramon Laureano starting in right field for them? Yeah. Supposed to be batting fifth in their lineup, according to Fangraphs.
That's a problem.
I'm going to disagree with you here, Mike. I got their under here on 79.5 wins. And I obviously don't have them making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, they get a nice reunion with Carlos Carrasco. Oh, how beautiful. Okay, great for you. Rotation is nice. I won't lie. I mean, Shane Bieber, I think, has had a bit of a different career path than we thought he was going to have. I mean, he's going to hit the open market next year. And I think if you ask somebody in 2020, when Shane Bieber hits the open market, they would tell you he's going to get a record-breaking contract, considering he's a former Cy Young winner. He hasn't exactly gone down that road. He's had a little bit of struggles. He's had injuries. Everything has not really gone too well for him, but he'll still be a nice piece to get for any team this offseason. Lineup. Big problem. I mean, you want to talk about who the hell is this? Will Brennan, Bo Naylor, Tyler Freeman, Brian Rocchio? I don't even know. I mean, obviously, some of those people I've heard of before as a nerd baseball fan.
Bo Naylor.
But to the average person, you're going to say, who the hell are these people? Not loving it. Jose Ramirez has been Mr. Consistent for them for years, and he's been one of the most underrated players in baseball. But outside of him, I mean, Josh Naylor had a nice year last year. You hope that Andres Jimenez can look a little bit more like 2022 Andres Jimenez, but I'm just not loving the depth of this lineup at all, and I think they're going to really struggle to put up runs.
There's not much to love about this team other than the starting rotation and Jose Ramirez. We'll see what happens. I got them just going over the 79.5, being a low 80s win ball club. The Minnesota Twins, the favorites to win the god-awful American League Central. Their over-under set at 87.5. The reason why I think people are confident in this team, Royce Lewis, who... Oh, I think I know who your MVP pick is.
No.
Now I got it. I thought I had it before. Now I really have it.
All right, let's see if you're right.
But back to the Twins. The reason why they're the favorite. And by the way, I was a little shocked at their number. Okay, their under win total at 87.5. I was like, this seems a little high.
It's a bit high.
And if I have a reaction like that, I'm definitely going to go under, and I did go under there. But, I mean, you talk about the top, Pablo Lopez, the top of this rotation, solid pitcher. You feel good about him being your number one, especially in a weak division. Carlos Correa, can he bounce back? He was really, not Carlos Correa after getting the long-term contract. And I think having that contract situation he had in the offseason prior to the 2023 season definitely affects things, but the Twins here are the favorite. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't win this division, and I'm not going to get cute with a winner here. So for the Twins, I'll go under the 87.5, but this is probably the best team in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking their under 87.5 wins. I think that number is too high. Now, the rotation is good at the top. I mean, I think Pablo Lopez is going to have a very, very good season. We'll see how the back half of that rotation does this year. You got a guy like Chris Paddock, who has had a rocky career. Was he a fantasy team member a couple years ago?
He might have been.
He might have been. I was a big Chris
You were
Paddock
a
guy.
big Chris Paddock guy.
They got DeSclafani in the offseason. He's starting the year on the IL. Johan Duran is one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. Maybe has the nastiest stuff in baseball. He's starting the year on the IL. So they're a little banged up. And, the lineup, it's a bit old, to be honest with you. I mean, you look at some of these guys like, Carlos Correa isn't a fossil by any means. He's 29 years old, but, you got Carlos Santana in there. Byron Buxton is 30 years old, but it feels more like he's 35 years old just because of all the injuries that he's had. And I'm sure he's going to be battling more this year. And then towards the bottom of that lineup, it struggles with depth for sure. And, the bench is solid. They get Manuel Margot over the offseason, but I'm not as high on this Twins team as some people are around the league. I know they'll end up winning some games playing in this bad division. They're gonna end up, I think, finishing above 500, but I actually do not have them winning this division.
Wow, so you got cute with this division.
I got cute with the division.
I can't go cute with this one.
I got real cute.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick with the Twins under the 87.5, but they may be my division winner. Okay, let's get to the next team, the Kansas City Royals. This is one of the teams where a lot of people picking, having predictions on this division, they get a little sexy with the pick. This is a different pick to win this division. And again, it's definitely a wide open division, but they've made some nice additions this offseason. Obviously, the big extension for Bobby Witt Jr. The win total's at 73.5. I think it's a little disrespectful. So where I'm not a believer in this team, I still think they go over 73.5.
You basically just said exactly my take on the team. I mean, I think to get cute here and say that they're going to win the division is a little insane, to be honest with you, but I agree. I think the win total is disrespectful. I think they take a nice leap year, sort of like what the Tigers did last year, where you were looking up and you're like, oh, the Tigers are winning some games. They finished around 500, around 78 wins or something like that. I could see the same thing for the Royals this year. I could see them getting to maybe that 80 win total. I mean, you mentioned Bobby Witt. I mean, he's going to be he already basically is, but he's really going to be one of the better players in this league. Just scored that huge contract extension. They got some solid depth pieces, some veterans in that lineup. A guy like Hunter Renfroe, who's proven that he can hit 30-plus home runs in this league before. Adam Frazier, a guy who could bat for a high average.
Seth Lugo they brought in.
Seth Lugo. Shout out Seth Lugo.
That's huge.
The rotation is solid. We'll see. I think they're really banking on a nice year out of Brady Singer this year. That would be really big for them. They got Kyle Wright from the Braves. Now he's hurt, but they got Kyle Wright. That's a guy who 2 years ago was a 20-game winner, pitched some big playoff games for the Braves. So we'll see how they do this year. I have their over. I don't have them making the playoffs, but I like a nice year out of the Royals.
Now, a team that I think we definitely disagree on here, and the last team to talk about is the Detroit Tigers. The win total's 80.5. I do not have them as a 500 ball club, so I will go under on their win total. I like the lineup. I don't love the lineup. I mean, Javier Baez might be one of the worst players in the league, and he might be on the worst contract in baseball at $120 million, whatever the hell it is. But either way, he's in the middle of this lineup. And when you go from 6 on, you're like, it's pedestrian. Mark Canha's a nice ad. He's going to be right in the middle of this lineup. But the top 4, I mean, Matt Vierling, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson had a nice year. And, a former first-round pick, big pop out of his bat. You like him. I don't love the bottom of this lineup. And the same goes for the rotation. Not enough depth. I go under here.
I go over. I go big over here, 80.5. I think a nice year out of the Tigers. So obviously, big disagreements here. A lot of really good talent on this offense. And I've seen some people saying, oh, their X factor this year, Javi Baez can't be terrible. let me tell you one thing. Javi Baez is going to be terrible, first of all. That guy is a lost cause. But I think they can survive that, right? I think that, Spencer Torkelson, you mentioned him, a guy hit over 30 home runs last year, a guy who was, one of the best prospects in baseball, he was the number 1 overall pick 4 years ago. I think he's going to have a really, really nice season. You talked about Riley Green. I really love him this year. I think the lineup, Kerry Carpenter, I think they're going to surprise people. They got your boy Mark Canha.
I like Canha.
That's your boy.
I do like Canha.
But one guy, I'm not telling you to pick him. He's not my pick for the Cy Young. But if I was looking out there, Shohei Ohtani, if you're looking to make another illegal bet, maybe put $1 million on. No, but if I'm putting a bet down, I might sprinkle a little Tariq Skubal to win the AL Cy Young.
Yeah.
I really like him.
I like him too. The odds, I'm going to pull up the odds right now. I think people have caught on to Tariq Skubal here.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I don't think it's like this sexy pick anymore.
He's this year's Christian Javier. Everybody liked Christian Javier last year.
Everybody did, including myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hate that. I don't hate that, but Javier, I think Skubal had a nice year last year.
Yeah.
I think it was better than Javier the year prior.
The thing that makes me hesitate with a guy like Skubal is you need to be able to pitch a lot of innings if you're going to win the Cy Young.
Do you, though, nowadays? 160 innings might do the job.
I think the voters really do look for that in recent history. I think that's what helped Cole a lot last year. Does Skubal pitch enough innings? I don't know about that.
Yeah,
he was hurt. He's had
innings
injury
last
problems.
year. He was fantastic.
15 starts, 80 innings. You're talking about 30 starts. It's around 160 innings. So could get him there. If he just stays healthy, he's going to give you 200 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
102 strikeouts in 80 innings last year, 2.8 ERA. It's a sexy pick. I got to pull up the odds. I lost the odds now. Why do I only have MVP here? My computer's all screwed up.
We got to wrap this division up, though.
That's it. Yeah, let's give our rankings here. We gave our win totals. Let's go. JM, how do we have this division rounding out?
I got the Tigers winning it. Right, big prediction. That's probably my boldest one of the day. Finishing first, the Tigers, then the Twins, Guardians, Royals, and White Sox.
There we go. I've got the Twins, the Guardians, the Royals, the Tigers, and then the White Sox finishing in last.
Tigers in fourth.
Disrespectful. I know. It might be a little disrespectful. Yeah. All right, the AL West. Interesting division. Interesting division. We'll start.
A little top heavy.
What?
Little top heavy.
The three teams.
Really bottom ass is what I should say. Really last two, bad.
The three teams, hint, going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Houston Astros, we'll start with them. This team, 7 straight American League Championship Series appearances. They just continue to get better, and I don't think there's any reason to say they're not going to be the top dog, even though their division rival beat them in the postseason and won the World Series last year. There's no reason for me to say there's going to be any sort of drop-off with this team. The rotation's strong. They're going to start a little banged up. Verlander is hurt. Jose Urquidy, he's going to start the season on the IL as well. I still like this team. I think we may get the Christian Javier season I thought we were getting last season. This year, I'm not saying he's going to win the Cy Young like I did last season, but Framber Valdez at the top, one of the best pitchers in the American League, and we know about their lineup. They're just consistently really, really good. And Yordan Alvarez, we're discussing guys, to draft in fantasy. We had our fantasy baseball draft on Sunday afternoon, and we're like, Yordan Alvarez is one of the best hitters in the entire league. If you can get that guy, you get that guy, and he's in the middle of this lineup. JM, there's no reason not to love this team. I go over 93.5.
I also go over 93.5. You're right. There's really no reason not to love them. The lineup is very strong. You have a team where you could pick 3 guys at least in this lineup as an MVP pick. Altuve's won it before. Alvarez has come close. Kyle Tucker was my MVP pick last year. All those guys could be MVP picks, and then we know Alex Bregman's also become very close in the past. So the lineup, I forgot to mention Jose Abreu. He's not as good as he used to be, but he's an MVP himself too. The lineup is fantastic. The rotation is great. The bullpen is great. Now, the rotation, like you said, banged up. Looking at it to start the year, maybe not so great. JP France and Ronel Blanco at the bottom of it, okay. Hunter Brown is a guy
really
that
like Hunter
could
Brown.
Be really, really good for them. He came up with that wave of exciting pitching call-ups we saw last year with Bobby Miller, with Hunter Brown, with one other guy that I'm forgetting in the National League that I'm sure will come back to me later. But what you can't say bad things about this Houston Astros team. I think they're going to win the division again. Spoiler alert. Yeah, they're great.
They're really good. Hunter Brown last season, he struggled a little bit as a 24-year-old, and it's really his first full season in the league, but he gave them 155 innings, struck out 178 guys, big-time strikeout guy. I think in his third season, really his second season starting, you could definitely see a big-time bounce back.
Yes.
To move
Josh
on.
Hader. We didn't even mention Josh Hader.
Yeah, but you know what? That Josh Hader contract pisses me the hell off to know
is.
when you can't pitch him back-to-back. There's a bunch of stipulations throughout the deal.
Oh, I was not aware of that. Are you serious?
Yeah, you don't know this?
No.
You got to look it up. There's clauses in the
crazy.
contract. I'm pretty sure it's just the regular season where he cannot go back-to-back days, something like that. Or back. I forget. Don't
nuts.
quote me on it, but there are
wild.
crazy stipulations in this Josh Hader contract that makes me just like
So not a
roll
dog.
my eyes.
Not a dog.
No, my God, no. I hate it. But their bullpen, again, is going to be very strong. I mean, Presley now moves and he's the setup guy. Pretty sure they still have Rafael Montero. He was their setup guy for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and he's been very good. So a very strong bullpen for the Houston Astros. The second team, let's talk about the Angels.
Yeah.
This team, first
Sad.
of all,
Angels fans, I'm sorry.
You got Artie Moreno, okay? He makes a comment a couple days ago, or maybe it was last week. I didn't think Ohtani would even get $500 million. I thought it was going to start with a 4.
Oh my God!
First off, how tone deaf are you? This is
we were talking about it was a lock that Ohtani was going to get $500 million.
lock to get 5.
I mean, 7 nobody was expecting that, but 5 was a lock.
5 was an absolute lock, and he doesn't even think he's going to get it. So
Get a grip.
you see how out of touch Artie is.
Yeah. Oh, and their other shiny toy that was supposed to be a great signing for them, Anthony Rendon, complains that the season is too long.
He hates
But he can't play more than 30 games a
he
year.
hates baseball. He hates baseball.
Now, the exciting thing about this Angels team is they actually have some nice young hitters. Mickey Moniak was a surprising bounce-back story last year, a guy who was a former number 1 overall pick, and found a bit of a revitalization with the Angels. It was a little up and down.
He looked like a complete bust with Philadelphia, and now
Yes.
he's here. And yeah, it's a nice story.
A little up and down. I mean, he had a 1,000 OPS at one point, but Logan O'Hoppe, a guy who hit 16 home runs and under 200 at-bats last year at the catcher position, that's really nice. But, I mean, Merlo, I put additions and subtractions for each of these teams. Subtractions, Shohei Ohtani. Okay, additions, Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is their addition.
By the way, he's hitting in spring training.
Yeah, no, it's great. MVP.
Okay.
Yeah, there's your underdog MVP pick, Aaron Hicks.
Might be.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, I mean, they're a joke of an organization, 100%. I have them going under the 72.5 just because, again,
Me too.
they didn't make any additions to improve this team. I mean, you talk about the lineup. Okay, there's a couple of guys that can hit. Please, for the love of God, don't look at the starting rotation.
They went.
Just don't look at it.
You're right. The weirdest part is they went all in on the bullpen. They signed like 4 or 5 guys to this bullpen this offseason, but they didn't touch the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Blake Snell was a perfect fit for them, whether they did a long-term contract, whether they did, one of these short-term deals as he signed with the Giants. But, I mean, we got Patrick Sandoval leading this rotation. Tyler Anderson they signed 2 years ago. What was it, 2 years ago or the last offseason?
Yep.
After he had that really good season with the Dodgers. He had a 5 ERA last year. So it's like the signings they do make to this rotation or just in general, they don't end up working out. This is just a poorly run organization. And, I mean, you hope to God Trout stays healthy. So it's, it's an exciting watch for them. But what are the chances that happens? We're crossing our fingers this season. We have in fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Again, I'd love to see this. I mean, I would love to see him move somewhere.
Yeah.
It would be great for the sport.
I think they owe it to him, to be honest with you.
Eventually.
And I think he's finally starting to talk. He finally somewhat mentioned that he's frustrated.
You think he might do it?
I think he should.
You think he might give them the okay?
He should. I don't know if he will. He should. It's long overdue.
Long overdue. Another disgusting team, the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah,
I mean, there's really no reason.
Nope. There's nobody's gonna be at the games. The biggest headline they had last year was a couple having relations in the third deck. I mean, that's That's all.
I really have nothing to say other than I think they go over just because I think 57.5 is like disgusting.
They might go under 50 this year.
I think
under.
I don't think so. I'll go over
Under.
57.5 just to
nice.
not be too disrespectful.
Under. Oh, disrespect.
This
Yeah,
is
they
a
deserve
58, 59 win team. 100 losses for sure, but a slight over here with the A's. The Seattle Mariners, 87.5. Man, I like this team.
Yeah,
I like
back
this
years
team.
You like they're your new Blue Jays.
They might be my new Blue Jays. I can't stop loving these Seattle Mariners, and I think the biggest reason why, I mean, you could say it's Julio Rodriguez, and of course he's great, and he's a popular pick to win the American League Most Valuable Player. But to me, the love for this team starts with their starting rotation. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, even Logan Gilbert. 3 guys that can be in the American League Cy Young discussion. Then you go Bryce Miller. He's an electric arm that has a ton of potential. Brian Wu is the 5th starter here. They have a solid bullpen. They have depth at pitching. That's why I like this team. They'll score enough runs. If they need to, they'll make an addition at the trade deadline to make sure they score some runs. But this team, man, I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. I really like the Seattle Mariners team.
Those were some nice things you said about them, about their rotation, about their bullpen.
87.5 over.
For me, 87.5 under.
Wow. Not loving my Mariners.
Listen. The top 3 teams in this division are some good ball clubs. Obviously, you have the Astros, who have been the most successful franchise over the past 5 or 7 years, and they're not going anywhere. The Rangers obviously just won the World Series. So the Mariners have their work cut out for them. The lineup is what gets me here, right? I mean, I think Julio Rodriguez is a guy that a lot of people are picking to win the MVP this year, rightfully so. He's a great player. He's a true 5-tool player, and he's been nothing but great for this team. However, looking at this projected lineup and seeing Jorge Polanco and Mitch Garver as your projected 3 or 4 hitters, on a playoff team, I would expect those guys batting more 6-7, 5-6 maybe. 3-4, batting in the heart of that lineup. I know they got Mitch Haniger back. He was great with them. There's a familiarity there. I think his best days are behind him. He's 33 years old now. The bottom of the lineup is not great, putting it lightly. I don't like J.P. Crawford in the leadoff spot. He doesn't get on base enough for me. I mean, I know he's, a guy that he works his walks, but he just doesn't hit at a high enough average for me to be batting that high. I'm not loving this yet.
There's enough power here for me in the middle of this lineup to say, okay, they'll score enough runs. Then we'll talk about a guy like Ty France, and I'm just refreshing my memory on what he did last season. He was underwhelming last season compared to the season he had in 2022 where he was an all-star. Mm-hmm. But can he get back to that where he had 20 home runs in 2022? The one thing I'd like to see, maybe the on-base raised a little bit higher from him coming into this year. But either way, I think Ty France bounces back a little bit from his 703 OPS from last year. And Mitch Haniger, a reunion with him. They traded for Luke Raley. Again, the middle of the lineup, pop, Mitch Garver, Cal Riley. Mitch Garver's going to be the DH, obviously. Cal Riley. That's your guy. Cal Riley's JM's guy.
Love Cal
Catcher,
Riley.
big pop. I mean, he's 30, 40 home run potential every season. There's enough offense here through the middle of the season to get them to the deadline where, listen, they may need to add a bat, but get me there first. And with this rotation, I think they're going to score enough runs. And bullpen. Can't forget about that.
No more Jared Kelenic experiment. Over.
Jared Kelenic experiment over. We'll talk about him in a minute.
NL MVP.
The final team here, the Texas Rangers, the defending World Series champion, Texas Rangers. JM, I have a lot to say about this team. So just to start, I'm going to go under 88.5 because I think they're going to struggle early on. They don't have the rotation depth at the moment. They just added Lorenzen, which I like. But when they get to July and August, and Met fans, open your ears here. You've heard this how many times?
Yeah.
If they can get DeGrom back and if they can get Scherzer back by August, now they have some more depth in that rotation and possibly some firepower with those arms coming back. Now you might have something with that rotation. But right now, Eovaldi, relying on him as your number one starter to be, to bounce back, continue what he did last season into this year, with no Jordan Montgomery. I don't think that's possible. I go under the 88.5. I think this is a playoff team because you do get a couple of guys back later in the season, but they'll struggle early and just get in.
I am also going with the under for the Rangers.
I'm surprised.
But it's not a strong under. It's, again, I think they're going to make the playoffs.
It's not a strong under for me either.
The number's a bit too high, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The health of the rotation is what's making me hesitant here. If they still had Jordan Montgomery, or if they had Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom healthy to start the season, I'm most likely taking their over. The reason why I'm still so confident in this team to make the playoffs is I think by the end of the season we're going to look back and say this was the best lineup in baseball. I mean, it basically was last year. It's really a gigantic reason why they won the World Series last year. But I mean, you look at this lineup: Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. Those are two guys who have come extremely close to MVP awards in their career. Evan Carter is a guy who was a huge prospect for them who contributed in that World Series run last year, who should have a really good year. Adolis Garcia, he mashed his way through the playoffs last year and has had a good big league career. He's made all-star games in the past. Josh Jung, me and you rave about Josh Jung as a player. He's great.
Josh,
and this is the guy. This is the guy right here that I am so excited to watch play baseball. He's going to be on the opening day roster. Wyatt Langford, the guy who was the 4th overall pick just a year ago. He's playing college baseball this time 1 year ago. He's going to be there in their opening day lineup. We'll get to the awards later. But
it's crazy, this kid.
Love Wyatt Langford, and I like this Rangers team to still make the playoffs, even with a battled rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the lineup and you say this is going to be one of the top, 100% a top 5 lineup in the sport. I can't disagree, and they'll score runs, and that's why I do think they'll make the playoffs when they get these pitchers back. Time to jump over to the National League. Very excited for what?
Who's finishing first? Who's finishing
second? That's my bad. I'm just so excited to get to the National League.
I get it.
I love me some National League baseball. All right, I'll start.
Yep.
First place Astros, second place Mariners, third place Rangers, fourth Angels, fifth A's.
I thought you were going A's in first. First place Astros, second place Rangers, third place Mariners, fourth place Angels, fifth place A's. So,
I had 3 playoff teams from this division. I had Astros, Mariners, Rangers.
I also have 3 playoffs teams from this division.
You have the Mariners making it.
Yep.
Interesting.
I have the Mariners making it. 85 wins, get in.
85 wins, get
that last spot.
Very excited. Very excited. Okay. Let's go. Before we go to the National League, actually, who's your most surprising team? I'm guessing you're going to say the biggest surprise for you here in the American League was the Tigers.
This is, yes, in a positive way, the Tigers. I think that, I picked them to win the division. So, I think the Tigers are going to have a nice season. Now, I don't think they're going to be a first-round bye, but yes.
And your most disappointing team in the American League?
My most disappointing team in the American League is going to be the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Or the Twins, I guess you could say. I see right here you picked the Blue Jays, so I'll say the Twins. I mean, I have them missing the playoffs. This is a year where I think in the AL Central last year it was really like, okay, who's going to win? It was the Guardians were just coming off that the playoff season the year before, and it was a little bit more cloudy there. This year it should be the Twins' year from looking at the predictions from Vegas and everything like that. But obviously, I'm predicting them to have a disappointing season.
There we go. And my most surprising would be the Mariners. I think the Mariners are going to be a 90-win team here. Possibly really give the Astros some run for this division, and I agree with you there. The most disappointing team in the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, we really got to speed this up a little bit. We're going to try our best. The National League East will start with the defending champions of this division, the Atlanta Braves. Their win total is 101.5, and I have no reason to say the under. I go over here.
I'm going over here, too. I mean, it's year after year. This team just doesn't lose anybody and just seems to just be stacked at every position group. They have depth everywhere. Yeah. I mean, the Braves are going to be one scary team in 2024.
I mean, it's easily the best lineup in baseball. I mean, I really do think they are that much better, actually. I think a serious step above the Dodgers. I mean, they're deeper than the Dodgers, especially if they do sort of unlock anything in Jared Kelenic. This team, listen, I know we're going to be comparing the Dodgers and the Braves all season long, but I think there is a decent gap between the two heading into this season. The Braves are just that much better than everybody in baseball.
You know what the difference is, right? It's Luis Guillorme.
You know what? It could be.
It's Luis Guillorme, man.
It really could be. By the way, he sucks.
Tribute video. He has to get a tribute video when he goes back to Citi Field.
And by the way, I think he will.
It'll be a tearjerker.
With like no joke whatsoever. Like he was on that team for a while.
You think Luis Guillorme
they will do
get
something,
a tribute video?
They will do something on the. They will
sure.
Do something.
Maybe put a picture. Thank you, Luis.
They will do something.
We need to
for
stop
Luis.
with the tribute videos. Ever since the Brooklyn Nets gave James Harden a tribute video,
tribute
videos have just gone way too far.
Luis Guillorme, please, for the love of God, we need that.
All jokes aside, scary ass team. I have their over as well. Pretty easily the over. I think they're gonna have the most wins in baseball.
Just like we kind of talk about the A's, like, oh, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
There's Braves, a lot to talk about, but it's like they're just so dominant everywhere. I think my questions would come in the bullpen, but even so, it's almost like they figure it out every season.
Yeah.
This team is that good. I think they're that much better than everybody in the entire league. I really do.
They are. That's it.
The Marlins. I said this to JM before, and you can call me a casual all you want. I'm a diehard baseball fan, but I checked out last season, and I completely forgot the Marlins made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I completely forgot the Marlins made the playoffs last year, and I'm looking. I'm like, oh my God, they lost to the Phillies. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They did make the playoffs. To me, JM, this team takes a big step back. They didn't make any serious moves this year. Sixto Sanchez looks like he's showing something now in spring training. He made the opening day roster.
He's been a prospect for like 7 years.
Yeah, and he gained a lot of weight. He's got a nice gut on him. Under the 77.5 though here for the Marlins. Sorry, Cash. I don't love this team. I really don't. And with the division, I think better. And by the way, I got a pick for you later in this division that you're going to be shocked at. It's an absolute lock. Is going to be a reason why I think this team takes a step back.
Okay. I have their over.
Ooh.
Now, this is like a very... Like, I literally have them winning 78 games.
Okay.
They have a 77.5
You went through every
total.
schedule? And
I have, yes, I did. Yes, I simulated MLB The Show 24 times.
Okay, yeah.
No, I have them winning 78 games, right around there. This lineup, I actually don't mind it. Let me tell you one thing. Look out for Jake Berger in 2024. Jake Berger is a good ball player, all right? I like Jake Berger batting in the middle of that lineup, provide some pop for this team. The White Sox let go of him way too soon, thinking they were just bad organization. Bad organization. Tim Anderson, I mean, yeah, I don't really expect him to do much. He was maybe, besides Javier Baez, the worst position player in baseball last year.
Not a good baseball player.
But at the bottom of the lineup, I see Fangraphs has him projected to bat 8th. I really could see him having a nice season as Brian De La Cruz. I love me some Brian De La Cruz playing the corner outfield for the Marlins. They have some other guys in there like Jazz Chisholm, Luis Ariz, Josh Bell. I like this lineup to make a little bit of noise, to maybe get them to that 78 win total. And let's see if some of these young pitchers for the Marlins can keep this team afloat.
There we go.
Jesus Luzardo, another guy who's been
I like Luzardo
for like 40 years, it seems like.
I do like Luzardo.
He had a nice year last year.
He did. And you want to talk about maybe real dark horse NL Cy Young, maybe it's him. But, I don't mind that. I do like Luzardo.
Yeah.
All right. A team that, we really haven't talked about a lot this offseason at all because they haven't really given us much reason. That's the New York Mets.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what to do with this team. Well, I do, but I don't. And they just had JD Martinez. They had a legitimate designated hitter, a actual protection in the lineup for Pete Alonso. He's never had it. Their win total's 81.5. They have the Mets as a 500 team, basically. The question's going to come from their pitching staff. What do they get out of a lot of guys looking to bounce back and really rejuvenate their careers? Kodai Senga starting on the injured list should be back. I mean, I'm going to just give like a realistic projection. Let's go mid-May, which is fine, by the way. I don't, if it's beginning of May, end of middle of May.
You've been talking to him?
We spoke the other day.
Oh, okay.
I would guess mid-May, just based on projection on how, he's got to build himself back up. But I have the Mets going over the 81.5 here. I think they're going to score runs, especially with the addition of Martinez. I like the lineup, and I like a couple of guys here to break out, per se.
I hate to break it to you. I have their under. Just like the Marlins, I have them at 81 wins. So I have
500
them, I have them
club.
a half under. I think that's exactly what they are. I've seen them that way the whole offseason. The Martinez move did not change my opinion on that. I think it's a nice addition for them. Provide some stability to the middle of that lineup. You have a guy who's produced in the big leagues before. He replaces Mets legend Daniel Vogel back in that DH spot.
He does.
Right? Big for them. The New York Mets, a.k.a. the Yankees East, I guess we'll call them, with Harrison Bader and Luis Severino coming over in the offseason. But, yeah, I mean, the good thing for them is they kind of don't have to worry about, oh, well, we lost a lot of guys this offseason. No, they lost most of their guys in July when they traded away Scherzer and they traded away Verlander. So we kind of know what this roster, like we've seen this roster play together those past 2 months of the year. I think that they're going to be the definition of mid. I think they're going to be a 500 team, and I think they have a lot of important decisions to make at the deadline. If they're floating around 500, it's going to be really interesting to see if Steve Cohen wants to maybe buy in on the year or trade away maybe a Pete Alonso if they don't see it working out this offseason, get a return for him for a rental and let him go sign somewhere else. Or maybe if they could pull off a trade and bring him back, that'd be really hard to do, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I don't think trading Alonso, I mean, God forbid that they get to that point where they're considering trading Alonso, but we'll see what happens. I think the Mets have built, a David Stearns-esque bullpen where, him and his guys have really, they did a great job just throwing bullpens together in Milwaukee, and they were successful. And I think that's kind of the way the Mets are going to go this year, where maybe they don't get as many innings as you'd like from their starting rotation, but the bullpen, the guys they've added here, and the guys that they've kept from last season, and of course getting Edwin Diaz back, will help. I think their bullpen's going to be one of the best. I think I am higher on the Met bullpen than most people are. I will say the Met bullpen is a top 10 bullpen in baseball this season.
Where my downfall with them is I think those guys like, by the way, DJ Stewart full-time in the lineup?
We'll see. No, because he's going to go up to the bench after Martinez comes back. Opening day, though.
But I think where you guys are going to have that downfall is I think guys like Starling Marte and Harrison Bader and Brett Beatty aren't going to get it done for you, and I think that's going to be where the lineup can't make up enough for. I have a lot of doubts about this rotation where the lineup can't make up for the rotation.
We'll see what happens with the Mets this season. The Phillies.
Yeah.
I can't stand how high I am on the Phillies this year.
Wow.
This
is surprising. This is surprising.
Can't stand it. I think their rotation, and I've seen people, and I think you're one of them, that's kind of lower on their rotation, and they're going to start, I think Taijuan Walker is going to start the season on the injured list. Yeah. But at 89.5, this is a 90-win ball club for me. I go over on the 89.5. I think this is one of their better teams in a very long time. They have a really solid bullpen. I think MLB ranked them the number one bullpen in the league. I don't know
That's a little crazy, but
MLB.com did that. I don't know if they are the number one bullpen in the league, but it's definitely a good one. The rotation I like, the top two. I mean, we've been waiting for Aaron Nola to have that year where his ERA's lowered a little bit. Does he have it this season where he's in the threes now? We know how great of a strikeout guy he is, but him and Wheeler at the top, you feel good. Ranger Suarez has turned into a really nice middle rotation piece, and I don't know if they're 100% out on Jordan Montgomery yet, but they have an aggressive owner that will make big-time moves at the deadline to make sure his team is ready for the postseason, and they've had the postseason success of late.
Zero farm system, too.
Never any farm system.
Zero farm
Never
system.
farm system.
No, not with Dave Dombrowski. I'm high on them. I was lower on them coming into the episode, but, I mean, I glossed over the roster one more time, and, I still had them making the playoffs, but I had them under their win total, and I was like, you know what? No, I would think I was too hard on their rotation. So I do have their over. I'm going to say that they win 91, 92 games, something like that. And, one thing that I'm really excited for this team is I think a lot of people would agree that, Soto and Judge are maybe the best 1-2, back-to-back in baseball, or Freeman and Ohtani, or Betts and Ohtani, or however the hell they're constructing that lineup. Trey Turner and Bryce Harper are going to be really exciting to watch this year. You're going to have a healthy Bryce Harper playing first base, and I think Trey Turner in his second year in Philly is going to really settle in and have a really, really nice season. I mean, this is a guy we were talking about as an MVP candidate year after year before his time in Philly.
I think, you respect these guys. Harper's fantastic right? We know how good Harper is. I don't know if I'm putting him in the categories of the guys you just mentioned, though. I mean, again, I know Turner.
Bryce Harper's an MVP. And
He is. Turner's season last year scared me a little bit. And listen, he's going to be better this year, 100%. But I don't know if I could put them in that class. But they're definitely a very good 1-2 punch.
You're telling me 2021 Trey Turner isn't. If they get 2021 Trey Turner, that's not, top. Maybe if Harper's has a good year, one of the best back-to-backs in baseball. Guy batted .328 with 28 homers, 32 stolen bases.
It's
143 WRC+.
It's one of the better ones, but I'm still taking three guys.
Right.
I'm still taking three duos over them easily. And I don't think we're getting 2021 Trey Turner.
Who's batting second for the Braves?
I don't know. I mean, would it be
Albies, Acuna? I mean, Acuna's leadoff. Albies, Olsen, or Riley?
Maybe
Albies.
it could go Albies. I mean, this website has
honestly Riley and Olsen
Albies
is also like one of the best. I mean, that's
100%.
Yeah.
Any one of those three of Acuna,
it'll be top
Riley,
5. How about that? I'll say it's top 5.
Okay,
Phillies.
Fair enough. I need everybody to do me a favor and themselves a favor. Okay. I need you
I knew
take
you were
out.
do this.
I need you to take out a couple $100. Okay. Put it on the table. Put it into the bank.
Hold
put it in.
on. All those that can gamble legally and
Yes.
that are over 21 years old, depending on your state laws.
Unless you're Shohei Ohtani and you bet through an illegal bookmaker.
Yes. Wire $1 million to an illegal bookie.
I need everybody to go to their sports book and take the over on the Washington Nationals 66.5. The disrespect this franchise has gotten for years now after a very successful rebuild. I don't know why I'm the only one on the Nationals train in the entire world. I think they've done a great job with this rebuild. They have so many young studs coming up, and they've drafted pretty well. They have guys coming through their system. Almost knocked the mixer down. I love this. I absolutely love what the Washington Nationals have done with this rebuild. They're very close to competing. And over 66.5, 70-win ball club for your Washington Nationals. 70 wins.
All right, you're very confident in this. I have their over as well. I don't know if I'd say it's as confident.
It's actually my favorite total. It's my favorite total of the entire year.
All right. I understand. You feel very strongly about this. Yeah, I mean, when you see Joey Gallo in the middle of that lineup, it maybe hesitates you to say that this team is going to make much noise this year, but I'll give them 70 wins, no problem. I have them getting their over here. I agree. I think they've done a solid job with their rebuild. They've still got guys in the minors like a James Wood that we're still waiting to see, but
he's going to be James Wood is going to be unbelievable.
Terrifying.
I'm not just saying that because he had tanks in spring training. I've been all over this guy since the Padres traded him.
Yeah. Well, really? Wow. You were since then?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I watched him.
Yeah.
I was
he
watching.
was like a great prospect already?
He was like 17 or 18.
Savant.
No, he was one of the top guys in the trade. He was 17 or 18 when they traded him. He was one of the top prospects in the Padres system. And I saw a highlight of him. I'm like, oh my God. And I started watching. I'm like, this kid is going to be great.
Good ball player.
All over him. There we go. Over. Pause. Yeah, that's bad. Pause. All right, here we go. This is how I have the division shaken out. We'll have the Braves in first, the Phillies in second, the Mets in third, the Marlins in fourth, and the Nationals in fifth.
Yep, same.
There we go.
Same exact thing.
Yeah, this division was kind of easy. I mean,
but I got that close because I had the Mets under and I had the Marlins over. But I got the Mets 81-81. I got the Marlins 78-84.
Yeah, you're close there.
Real tight there. It's going to be a tight third place race in the NL East.
The NL Central, listen, it's not as bad as the American League Central, but it's bad. We'll start Cubbies here. This is going to be my most disappointing team in the National League. 83.5 wins. I take the under. I don't love the offseason they've had. I'm not in love with their rotation either. So that's really one of the reasons why I go under. And listen, you bring Bellinger back. I like Bellinger, and I do think the lineup will score runs. But for me, it's Justin Steele. I think he's banged up to start the year now. Kyle Hendricks is still their number 2 starter. Jordan Wicks and Javier Assad round out 4-5. The bullpen, they have a couple of nice pieces at the back end, but I don't trust this rotation. They'll score runs, but I don't trust the rotation.
Yeah, I think they had a bit of a disappointing offseason. I mean, they bring Bellinger back, but a little disappointed. I thought they were going to be a contender maybe to get Matt Chapman. That didn't end up working out for them. I also have their under. I'm taking their under here for all the same reasons that you said.
The more I look at the lineup, though, I like it a little bit.
The lineup's nice. The lineup
it's a nice lineup.
It's a nice, deep, solid lineup, but I'm not loving the rest of the team.
Shota Amanja, he's your big.
Wow, that was.
Is it bad?
I'm pretty sure it's Imananga.
Imananga.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's your big ad, though, this offseason to that rotation.
Take it easy on the criticism there.
What?
Good ball player.
You think?
Yeah, he'd be nice.
In the Windy City,
nice.
some fly balls might nice. Fly ball pitcher. Some fly balls might nice. Fly out there. Yeah. Tyone starts the year on the IL with a back injury. I'm not in love. I'm not in love.
Yep. Disappointing season. Disappointing season for them.
Next.
Trying to keep it rolling here a little bit, just because we're getting long.
But I'm contradicting myself. That's the problem. I'm sitting there, I'm like, could they be good? No, they're the under, and they're the disappointing team. The Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah,
a lot of people like this team. A lot of people like this team, and I am one of them. The division champion of the National League Central, Cincinnati Reds. 81.5 wins. We go over there. Yeah, just like that. I go right into it like that. Just like that.
Okay.
Jonathan Indian's a guy. They've considered trading him. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of rumors about him being traded, but I mean, you talk about the young pieces coming up on this roster. Who just Novelli Marte? Am I saying his name?
Marte.
He just got suspended for drugs. Jonathan India will lead this thing off, but we're talking about Ellie De La Cruz. We're talking about Spencer Steer. We're talking about Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Nice. That was a mouthful. PDs or
drugs.
I believe it's PDs. Yeah, no, which when you say drugs, it makes you think.
Sorry.
Maybe
that's my bad.
Yes.
No, that
performance enhancing
drugs.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't wrong, but I wasn't right. Will Benson's got one of the prettier swings in the league.
Yeah,
I mean,
Will Benson, nice.
I do like this team.
Nice ball player.
I do like this team.
I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum here. I got their under. I got a disappointing season for the Reds. I just don't think they're there yet. I mean, I like some of these pieces in the lineup. I think Ellie De La Cruz obviously was very exciting last year.
Overrated though.
He got very overrated. I mean, I think let's give the guy a chance here to turn into a good player. But they overrated him very. Yeah,
the fan love and the social media love.
Honestly, I don't blame that fan base, and I don't blame the MLB. The guy was doing some of the more crazier things we've seen on a baseball field before, but. I mean, that's a fan base that's dying for something to cheer for. So no offense, it's just a matter of the fact. Not loving this rotation, not loving the bullpen outside of Alexis Diaz. Yeah, Frankie Montas, surprisingly, I'm not big on as a Yankee fan. Surprise.
I was just wondering.
Hunter Green, still waiting for that guy to really put it all together command-wise to be able to be effective. We know how electrifying his stuff is, but I got a bit of a disappointing year coming up for the Reds.
A lot of position players. I think they'll score runs. That's why I have them leading this division. Let's talk about the Brewers here, who have a lot of change. They lose Burns. They lose their manager, Craig Counsell, to the Cubs. A lot of change over here in Milwaukee, and I don't think there's much excitement, but I will go over their win total of 77.5. I just think they always sort of figure it out, and they hire a manager that has been – he was their bench coach. They know him. There's familiarity there. So they kind of just figure out a way to piece it together every season. So this is a 78-79 win ball.
Yeah, I'm really low on the Brewers.
Okay.
I have them, spoiler alert, dead last in the division. Wow. I think they're going to finish last. They got rid of Corbin Burns this offseason. Didn't really bring anybody else in. The lineup now, I think – towards the bottom of the lineup, Joey Ortiz was a nice return for them to get from the Orioles, a top 50 prospect. They made some sneaky signings, they got Rhys Hoskins. It wasn't too sneaky, but Gary Sanchez is over there now. But yeah, I mean, the rest, this rotation is a little concerning to me at the bottom, more than a little. I'm very concerned about the rotation. They lose Devin Williams for the season.
That's huge.
That is.
Not for the season.
Gigantic.
Is it for the season? I thought it was a few months.
I guess so. I remember making a big deal out of it when it happened. So it's for a very long time.
It's for a long time.
It's not good. Not loving them. Rotation bottom, not good. Bullpen, not high on it. Joel Payamps is a nice guy. Outside of him, I don't see anybody else in this bullpen really being effective. Dead last. Milwaukee Brewers.
A lot of young guys that have come up the last couple of years and coming up this season. We'll see what happens with them. The Pittsburgh Pirates, one of those kind of
ball club.
Sexy teams again. Could they make this interesting? I have them over 75.5, but nothing more than 80 wins here. This isn't a team that I think will seriously compete.
So you have them over as the last place team.
I do. I have a lot of over
You're
last place
expecting
teams.
that's pretty good for no NL Central team to win under 75 games.
Very tight. Very tight. No winner probably over 85.
All right.
Maybe at the max I go 85.
I also have their over. Nice addition with Aroldis Chapman at the press conference.
Oh, how many times have we made fun of this one?
We got the press conference for the Aroldis Chapman signing, but no, I mean, the Pirates, the good thing about the Pirates, they didn't lose anybody. I mean, they literally did not lose.
Is that a good thing?
I mean, they have 0 free agents that they lost, basically. Andrew McCutcheon's back.
Thank God.
They got Rowdy Tellez. They got Michael A. Taylor. Martin Perez is a nice, solid veteran to add in the rotation. But I think the lineup could be pretty effective.
Lineup will score.
We'll see O'Neal Cruz now. That's exciting to see him back. I think just like you said, I think they're gonna win. They're gonna win a solid amount of games. They're not gonna make the playoffs. They're not gonna win the division, but I think they're gonna hover around 80 wins.
And their rotation's absolutely disgusting. And like this team, who was a major disappointment last season, I think will be another disappointment. The St. Louis Cardinals, 84.5. I go under here on that total by a little bit. The rotation, they're gonna have Sonny Gray start on the IL this year. I don't love this team. They're very old. I don't know if you have any difference of opinion here on the Cardinals. I don't know if you have them bouncing back. They bounce back, sure, technically, but not in a way where I think they are the division champions.
I do have a differing opinion. I have their over 84.5 wins. I like the Cardinals this year. Now, the rotation was horrendous last year. I mean, you said it. There's no way of putting it lightly. It was not good. I like the additions of Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. I think that'll help out the rotation. I know Lance Lynn was certainly didn't have his best year last year. Yeah. But he's back in St. Louis.
Remember when everybody thought he was back? He went to the Dodgers, had like a first couple of good starts, and then it was like, back
Sonny
to the
Sonny Gray's gonna be back soon. Looking at this lineup, I really like the lineup. I love Mason Wynn batting 9th for this team with a bunch of veterans. I think that's gonna help him a lot. There's not a lot of pressure on him. I think he could have a nice season. Jordan Walker, I think, is going to really take a big step in year 2. Guys like Nolan Gorman and Brendan Donovan, I think, are going to be really effective for them. And then we know about Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and Wilson Contreras. And, you got guys that are starting the year on the IL, and Tommy Edman and Lars Nootbaar, who are no slouches. I mean, Tommy Edman's been, one of the best defenders in the game, and Lars Nootbaar has been an effective big leaguer. So I like them to bounce back. I feel confident about their bullpen. I think Helsley's going to have a really nice year. So I like the Cardinals. I do.
A lot of power from Gorman. Like him a lot. 27 home runs in 119 games last year. All right. I got this division shaping out to be the Reds, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Pirates.
I got Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Pirates.
There we go. All right. So we got a
big difference there.
Division champion there. A lot of differences there. We'll start in the National League West with the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending National League champions.
That's not a good look for baseball.
Well, JM, I go over 83.5. I do. They've made some decent additions. I don't think this is a team where we're just penciling them in because they went on a run last year. I think they do. They're young. They've made some additions. They've brought some guys back, and led by Corbin Carroll. This is a real solid. And I cannot forget the 1-2 punch they have at the top there with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen.
Big
in
Merrill
no
Kelly
order.
guy over here.
Big Merrill Kelly guys right here.
Yep.
And they add Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez, to the squad. So I really do like this team. A solid top 3. They'll score. I go over 83.5. They're absolutely a wild card team.
Yeah, I'm going to take their over as well. I'm going to have them in the playoffs. You have an underrated lineup here. Obviously everybody knows how great Corbin Carroll was last year. Ketel Marte has been, one of the better acquisitions for this team over the past decade, really. I mean, he's been fantastic for them. Christian Walker, a guy who had a good year 3 years ago, then sort of had didn't bounce back after that season and do it again. And then in 2023 looked great again. And I think he's going to keep building off of that. You talked about the rotation. Yeah, just this team's solid all around. Obviously, they overachieved last year. Nobody was expecting them to get to the World Series. I don't view them as a team that's going to get back there. But I do view them as a strong wild card team for me.
Yeah, Definitely a strong wild card team. They're the second wild card team for me.
Randall Grichuk, could I forget that?
Please, okay, definitely.
Huge.
Let's move on. For the sake of time, Rockies over. I don't feel very strongly.
Nice. Take 62 wins, have a parade. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
Enough of them. Okay. Sorry, Rocky fans. The Dodgers. 102.
Imagine the poor Rocky fans that have been sitting here the whole time waiting.
I know.
Waiting.
It's terrible.
If you're out there.
It's terrible.
Sorry.
The Dodgers, I go under 102.5. Yeah, I mentioned it before. I think Atlanta's like a pretty decent step ahead of them this year. Infield defense may be a serious problem for this team.
Yeah, Max Muncy.
Betts is playing short now because Gavin Lux can't make the throw from short to first. We know what they're going to do offensively. We know what this team's going to be, but defense might be a problem in this season, especially in the first half. I think the rotation is not going to struggle, but it's not going to be what it is in the second half and then even beyond going a couple of years down the road, how good this rotation is going to be. Guys are going to be coming back towards the middle of the year, and we know injury concerns, again, with Tyler Glass now. So this is an easy under for me here for the Dodgers.
This is the crazy thing. I also have the under here. I think they'll, they're going to win this division pretty comfortably, but yes. I don't see them, eclipsing the 105 win mark. I just think that's a little crazy. Even if you are one of the best teams in baseball, that takes a lot to win those games, that many games. The crazy part about them, they're so deep in the pitching. It's actually insane, but they are really banged up. I mean, this is their projected IL to start the year. Walker Buehler, Tony Gonsolin, Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, Emmett Sheehan. That would be an amazing lineup in today's game. An amazing rotation, and that's their IL rotation. So, you have Tyler Glasnow, Bobby Miller, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The point I'm getting to here, though, it's great they have all that depth with the pitching, and their IL rotation would be a great rotation somewhere else. I still think this rotation is a little vulnerable, though. I mean, Tyler Glasnow, we talked about it before. We were talking about the Rays.
Yeah.
Really struggled to stay healthy. Bobby Miller, a guy that we're high on and that a lot of people are high on, he's got nasty stuff, and to have a nice second season, he had a good rookie year. Yamamoto, though. I mean, we think we know how good the guy's going to be, but ignore what happened in the first game of the year and that Korea series or whatever. I mean, it's just to overreact after one start is ridiculous. But the matter of the fact is, we don't know how he's going to perform at the major league level. So the rotation does have a little bit of vulnerability to it.
Yeah. To wrap this up here, the Padres 83.5. I go under on the Padres. They make the trade for Dylan Cease. There's still a lot of question marks within this team, especially towards the bottom of the lineup. Some younger guys coming up. I think Tatis is going to have a massive year, but you lose Soto, lose a couple of other starters, you lose the NL Cy Young Award winner. For the Padres, even though with some of the additions they've made like Cease, I still think they're a little bit vulnerable. I don't know if they have enough depth, and they lose a really good manager in Bob Melvin. I go under on the Padres win total of 83.5 for those reasons, plus playing in a tough division.
Yeah, I'm going to go under as well for the Padres. Now they're right there for me. I was flip-flopping between it, but I'm not loving the depth in several areas on that team. And we'll see how the rotation holds up. I think it looks nice going into the season. Dylan Cease, we talked about in other episodes, his velocity was down last year. Yu Darvish, I think he's on the wrong side of his 30s, and I don't know how confident I would be that he could keep performing well. So I'm going to have the Padres at around 80 wins. I'll take their under.
And the Giants, same thing for me. I think they have a lot of guys here, especially in this lineup, that are just like, they're solid players. Yeah. They're good players, but there's no star power in this lineup. There's no guy that you can rely on every single night to be your star offensive player. And you talk about a ballpark that is not great for power hitters. They add Jorge Soler. I still think he has enough power to, have his production the way he's had the last couple of seasons. But there's no guy in this lineup I trust 100%. And the rotation's real. I mean, it's solid, especially if you get a Blake Snell season like you did last. But there's some injuries going in. Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray. And the back end, Kyle Harrison's a big-time prospect they have coming up. We'll see what they get from him. They're transferring Jordan Hicks now to be a starter from a reliever. So There's still some questions. Webb at the top. He's one of the better pitchers in the league, but I have questions, and that's why I go under 83.5.
I'm in a strong disagreement here. I'm going over for the Giants. I have them into the playoffs. I think they're going to have a really nice season. My reasoning for it, you were just talking about the pitching. I'm higher on the pitching than you are. Mm-hmm. I think the pitching is going to be really good this year, and that's not just because of Blake Snell. Blake Snell is actually maybe the third reason why I think their rotation is going to be really good. Logan Webb, I'm really high on him this year. I think he's going to have a really nice season. Kyle Harrison, you just talked about, I think is going to make an impact for this team right away. The Giants are one of those teams that seem to find a way to find some good starting pitching. Robbie Ray coming off Tommy John surgery, he doesn't have to come out there and be a 2 or 3 starter for them. He could be a bottom of the rotation guy when he comes back. And this bullpen, I mean, is very good. It's one of the better bullpens in baseball. Camilo Doval has turned himself into one of the better closers in baseball. We know about the Rogers brothers. So I like the Giants here, and I actually like them to make the playoffs.
This division, I have it going the Dodgers, the D-backs, the Giants, the Padres, and then the Rockies.
I have it as the Dodgers, D-backs, Giants, Padres, and Rockies.
Same thing there. My most surprising team in the National League, I'll go with the Mets, and the most disappointing, I kind of talked about them before. I would have said the Padres, but I said them last year and was right. So let's go with a different team. I'll say the Cubs this year.
Yeah, my most
disappointing.
My most surprising, as I just discussed, I'm going with the San Francisco Giants. I think they're going to surprise some people, make the playoffs this year. And my most disappointing, I hate to take the excitement away because they're a young and exciting team, but I'm going with the Cincinnati Reds.
JM, what's your American League Championship Series and who represents the AL in the World Series?
My American League Championship Series, as much as I want to be a homer and pick the New York Yankees to be in this, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say 2 rivals of this team. I'm going with the Baltimore Orioles and the Houston Astros. And I'm going to take the Orioles to advance to the World Series here.
Well, JM, you know ball. Very nice pick there with the Baltimore Orioles headed to the World Series. Mine's a little different. I got the Seattle Mariners beating the New York Yankees in the ALCS, and the Mariners representing the American League in the World Series.
You're big on the Mariners.
I'm big.
Crap.
Fully on the Mariners bandwagon here. Loving them this year.
And you know what? Good for you not eating chalk here. That's good.
You know what? That's what baseball's about. It's impossible to predict this.
Honestly,
postseason.
Have you seen the last couple World Series?
And wait till you see my NL team.
Oh boy, I'm a little scared for that. I guess I'll
let's
start.
Let's hear your NL team.
Little chalk here.
All right, let's
go. Little
chalk.
chalk. So just to give a refresher, I think my NL playoff teams are the Dodgers, D-backs, Giants, Phillies, Braves, and Cardinals.
I didn't do that.
I didn't do it for the AL either, but I'm gonna go with the Braves over the Dodgers here. A battle of two titans for sure. The 2 best teams in baseball, really.
Baseball needs that.
They need that. They really do, and I got the Braves making it.
My playoff teams will be the Braves, the Dodgers, the Reds, Phillies, D-backs, and Mets grabbing that last spot. That's how I have my top
really
6.
different.
Real different. And my NLCS is the Phillies over the Dodgers. Philadelphia Phillies get back to the World Series.
I really love you some Phillies. So you got a Phillies Mariners World Series.
Phillies Mariners World Series.
Yeah, MLB hates that.
MLB does not like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they hate it, but they definitely don't like that one.
They're not big fans of that one.
JM, who wins the World Series?
Mike, it's gonna be another miserable year for you as a Mets fan. I got the Atlanta Braves over the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. I think this is my second year in a row that I picked the Braves. I'm not 100% sure. I remember I had the Yankees against the Braves in a World Series, I think last year. Nice call on that one. But I'm going with the Braves. They're just so good, and whether it's this year or whether it's next year, they're just due for a World Series with this crazy team that they put together.
Yeah, and whether it's your World Series or my World Series, I'm due for a terrible year too.
Yeah.
I got the Phillies beating the Mariners in the World Series in I don't know how many games. I'm not going to guess. 6 games. Phillies beat the Mariners in 6 games in the World Series. Yeah. Let's get to some awards here. We'll start in the American League. JM, who's the MVP?
My American League MVP, you were wrong before when you said you thought you figured it out. I got Gunnar Henderson.
I was right the first time.
Winning American League MVP.
I was right the first time.
He was, we said maybe we take it on an underdog MVP pick, someone we like to maybe sprinkle in the sports books, and then a guy that we like to win the MVP. He's both of mine. I would more than sprinkle. I would whatever the next step from sprinkle is. I would hammer. Thank you. I would do that with Gunnar Henderson. He just effortlessly can put up an 8-WAR season. I mean, I think he had over 6 last year, might have been in the 7s, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. This guy's going to be, I think, just the sky's the limit. I think he's going to be the face of this lineup, better than Rutschman. He's going to be an Oriole great, and I think he's going to wind up into the Hall of Fame one day.
There we go. High praise for Gunnar Henderson, a fantastic player. My guy probably might be already in the Hall of Fame. IL MVP, I've been saying this since the Yankees made the trade. It'll be Juan Soto, and a contract year in that stadium, hitting in front of Aaron Judge, who is the ultimate protection for both guys are the ultimate protection for each other. I think Juan Soto is the complete hitter in terms of, being able to have a great eye, take his walks, go the other way, and of course the power at Yankee Stadium. I think it's a perfect match. Juan Soto is your MVP.
Nice. We going over the NL? We stay in the AL.
We'll go stay AL Cy Young.
AL Cy Young. I'm going along with my surprising team pick. I'm going with Tariq Skubal.
Have some cojones.
Big swing here for Tariq Skubal. I think this race is wide open this year, especially with no more Garrett Cole. You got guys like maybe a Pablo Lopez, Luis Castillo, Kevin Gausman, who could get their hat in the ring there. But I think Tariq Skubal is going to have a really, really nice year. We talked about the innings before. I said if he can get 160, 170 innings, he's going to easily blow past 200 strikeouts. I think he'll keep that ERA under a 3, and I think he's going to be the face of this Tigers rotation. He'll be a game 1 starter for them in the playoffs. I really like Tariq Skubal.
There we go. And I know we're going to give odds with the picks here. Juan Soto's the favorite in the American League, plus 500, plus 600. So I'm going chalk there.
We'll chalk.
With the AL MVP. My AL Cy Young Award, that's going to be Luis Castillo, and I'm going to pull up his odds right now. He is plus 850, plus 900, around there. He's about 3rd or 4th, depending on the book you look at. But I like Castillo to win this award. I'm very high on the Mariners, and they're only going to get to where they have to go if Luis Castillo is that true ace, that number 1 guy. And along with the other guys in this rotation, they've got some elite arms, and I think Castillo is the best of them. A true electric arm, great fastball, high strikeout guy. JM knows I've been a huge Luis Castillo guy for years, and I think it all finally comes to fruition for him. He gets his first Cy Young Award.
Very nice, Mike. Like that pick. AL Rookie of the Year. Did I make it obvious before?
You made it a little obvious before.
Yeah, Wyatt Langford of the Texas Rangers. I think he's going to have an amazing year. Go look at this guy's numbers in college, in spring training, in the minors. Wherever he's been, he has mashed. I think he's going to be like all-star caliber his first year. I think this is going to be a strong Rookie of the Year, a guy that cements himself as a top 50 player in baseball.
Wow, there we go. Big praise for Wyatt there from JM. My American League Rookie of the Year. There we go. I have Jackson Holliday. JM's talking about Gunnar Henderson, about, a guy that, could possibly see himself at the Hall of Fame leading this Orioles team. I think Jackson Holliday is one of those guys that could be right there with them. Could be better than him. Who knows? But he was lighting it up in spring training. He starts the year in the minor leagues because of that stupid the control BS.
Yeah.
But this guy's a major league ball player. He's young, but he's fantastic, and he'll get up there and make his impact right away. He'll be the Rookie of the Year.
That's nice for the Orioles to have Gunnar Henderson last year, the Rookie of the Year. 2 years ago, Adley Rutschman just misses to Julio Rodriguez to be the Rookie of the Year, and now you're saying Jackson Holliday. That's pretty nice rookies for them. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's nice. Nobody's talking about Jose Ramirez. That's the guy I was going to say. You can get him at like plus 2,000.
Every year.
It's every year.
It's just with Ramirez, I think he's just the guy who's always going to be stuck there because you're not going to see him. Somebody's always going to have a better year than him. He can, over a 5-year span, be one of the best players in the American League. Somebody's going to put up better numbers than him. He's not going to be a guy who hits 35, 40 home runs.
Hopefully he does that one year. He just absolutely breaks out. But he's somebody nobody's talking about. His odds I would take. Jim, I'll start in the National League with the MVP. Fernando Tatis. I mean, if we're talking about a guy that can replicate what Ronald Acuna Jr. was able to do last season, it's Tatis, and he's going to be more comfortable in the outfield this season. Just made a nice play, actually. Just saw it at Petco Park. But this is a guy that can absolutely replicate that season. We know how talented he is. Can he stay focused? Can he stay on the field? That's going to be the biggest thing. But if he does, we're talking about a guy that can hit 30, 40 home runs and steal 40 or 50 bags, a truly impressive player. And again, getting better in right field, that will be key for him. So I'll take Fernando Tatis Jr. He's my NL MVP.
Yeah, like that. I mean, as a right fielder, like you were saying, I mean, he won the platinum glove. I mean, he's been absolutely elite. This is my, again, underdog, but also MVP pick. You can go ahead and take him at plus 2,500 odds right now. I got Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series. I have the Braves winning the World Series, but I have him winning the NL MVP next year. Just Riley's been really, really, really consistent the last 3 years, and he's finished 7th, 6th, and 7th in NL MVP the last 3 years. I think he's going to take a little bit of a step this year, maybe get that OPS into the 900s. I would like to see him walk more. He's a little too aggressive at the plate. Yeah. But if he could get those homer numbers, hit maybe 5 more this year, get into the 40s, and get that OPS up, maybe 30 points, I like his chances to be the NL MVP and the Braves to get back-to-back NL MVP awards.
That'll be interesting. If I'm going to have the Braves, and talk as highly as I did during this episode about them, I have to have one of their guys win an award, and it's going to be Max Fried this year winning the Cy Young. I'm a big contract year guy, okay? And Max Fried in that contract year, a lot to prove, has to stay on the field. He's had some injury troubles the last couple of seasons. Let's see him stay on the field, and let's see him have a big year and lock himself up for a $300 million contract in the offseason. Max Fried with a big year winning the NL Cy Young.
Like that. Big on Max Fried. Also big on this team this year to make the playoffs, and big on this starting pitcher. I got Logan Webb as my NL Cy Young in 2024. Webb finished second to his now teammate Blake Snell in Cy Young voting last year. He had 216 innings that led the league. I mean, this guy's going to be 27 years old this year, and he's already had basically 200 back-to-back 200 inning seasons in a row. Really like him. He's not a high strikeout guy, but I'll tell you one thing, he's got a nasty sinker, and he keeps the ball on the ground, and he does a really good job at limiting runs, and I think he's going to continue to do that in 2024. So Logan Webb is my NL Cy Young pick.
Did you give odds on Logan Webb?
I did not. I see it right there. He's at plus
different odds, 1,500, 1,000, 950. Yeah. You see there.
See, like him and Tyler Glasnow, him being lower than Glasnow to me, like that's a nice bet. That's a good bet to take him.
Fried around the 1,200, 1,300 mark there. So two nice value picks for the Cy Young there. The rookie of the year, I'll go chalk. I mean, you see so much and read so much about Yamamoto. So I'll take Yamamoto again, not worrying about that first start. I don't really have much to say. I think he's going to be, a superstar in this league. There's a reason why he was paid, $325 million and offered $325 and $300 million by three really smart organizations.
Yeah. I also have a Japanese starting pitcher winning the Rookie of the Year, but it's not Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I got Shota Imanaga of the Chicago Cubs winning it. I've read up on this guy. Lefty, he's got some good stuff. I think it was an underrated signing. He's less exciting than Yamamoto was, but I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to impact right away for this Cubs team that I think is going to have a disappointing season. But him individually, I think he's going to do well. I like his odds at plus 1,600. He's got I believe the sixth highest odds to win the National League Rookie of the Year. I'm going to take him. I'm going to go with Shota.
And MVPs nobody's talking about. Francisco Lindor. I don't know what his odds are. I got to look right now, or JM can look for me while I explain this.
Okay.
But Lindor has had a lot of criticism since coming over to the Mets, and every year he's gotten better. He was a 30-30 guy last year. I think in an MVP race that is wide open for one season without Ohtani pitching and hitting, I think this would be the season he could possibly get it done. The Mets are going to have less pressure on them this year. I think that's a good thing for Lindor to just play freely. He plays every game. His WAR numbers are always extremely high. He's great at shortstop. He won't have the problem there. Can he hit 35 home runs? Can he have an OPS in the 850s, 860s there? I think that might be able to get it done if that's a 7 or 8 WAR season in a year where it could possibly be open a little bit. I would sprinkle on Lindor at
plus 3,000.
Plus 3,000.
That's nice odds. I'm not going to lie, that is nice odds. I like the odds a lot in the NL for some of these guys. I talked about Austin Riley at plus 2,500. A guy who actually has better odds, but I loved also Corbin Carroll plus 2,000.
I thought about Carroll.
I mean, he's going to – I think he's going to flirt with Acuna's 70 stolen bases from last year. I think he's going to lead the league in stolen bases this year. I
almost felt like that was chalk. Why did I think that was chalk?
It should be chalk, honestly, but it's not. We know how much the voters love and how much and I'm sure you love WAR numbers to help you out with MVP voting.
Well, Lindor,
like Corbin Carroll there. We had a question from Andrew Ryder. He asked us, he likes the odds of 3 guys getting 50 home runs this year. I don't know about you.
Who are the 3 guys?
I don't. Well, he mentioned, you got Alvarez, you got Judge, you got some sneaky guys, maybe like Acuna to maybe get 50 this year. Obviously, Matt Olson, Kyle Schwarber.
I do like it.
I mean,
if Alonso's healthy, he hits 50 last season. Now we're talking about a contract year. Judge, same thing. He easily goes over 50 last year if he's healthy. Olson was easy over. He had 53 last year. It's not a bad bet. I would definitely 54 last year.
Hate to be that guy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks.
So I just want to make sure you're at the top of your game always.
But 100% I would take that bet. There's definitely a lot of guys, lots to prove, and just really great power hitters this season. I like that bet a lot.
It's a corny answer, but it's really how I feel. Give me 2 weeks. Let me see how the baseballs are this year.
How's that a corny answer?
Can I see?
How is that a corny answer?
Can I see how the baseballs look this year? Okay, if we're getting 2019 juice balls, I'll say 5 guys are gonna hit 50 home runs.
Wow, a lot more will hit 50 home runs if they got the 2019 juice balls. Okay. Brendan Castangway, a good friend of ours, sent in a fan video with a prediction for one of the MVP awards. Let's take a listen to that.
My pick for AL MVP this year, Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners, batting out of the 2-hole, playing center field, got his sophomore slump out of the way early last year. Second half alone almost had a 20-20. This lineup is built around him. He's going to get runs. He has speed, great defense, great bat. The lineup around him reminds me a lot of the Yankees around Judge. He's going to be in the 2-hole. The guys behind him will score him.
Thanks a lot, Brendan. Yeah, Rodriguez, listen, you like the Mariners this season. I like the Mariners this season. If they're going to have the season I think we both believe they're going to have, Julio Rodriguez is going to have to have that kind of MVP year. He's second for me, by the way.
Yeah.
He was the guy I actually almost swapped for Soto, but I just kept Soto my gut all offseason.
Yeah, I mean, Rodriguez, he's going into his age 23 season. He's had, one of the best starts to his career that we've seen out of players in years. I like it. I think he could have a really nice season. Now, I talked about the Mariners of maybe not having enough protection for him. I don't love the rest of that lineup. That's the only way I could see, maybe we get a disappointing year out of Julio Rodriguez and what we're projecting him to do. Definitely a 40-40 guy.
Good,
he's got 40-40 potential.
Good.
I mean, he flirted with it last year with 32 homers, 37 stolen bases. Just want to see him be a little bit more patient at the plate, get those OPS numbers up. I don't think you could win the MVP with an OPS in the low 800s. Maybe start taking your walks a little more, get that on base closer to 400 like we see out of most of these MVPs. And then I think at that point, I mean, if his on base percentage is creeping towards the 400s, I mean, I think he'll walk away with the MVP.
Yeah. I'm getting like a tingly feeling in my stomach. I truly cannot wait for baseball season. It's finally here. Although Mets opening day might get rained out Thursday, doesn't matter. Good Friday, that'll be good. We'll eat meat on Friday, doesn't matter. All right, JM, a long
Great
one
show
here for the MLB prediction show, but a very good one, a very exciting one, and like I mentioned, baseball is finally back.
Yeah. Big thanks to NSC Windows and to Marvin Windows for powering this episode. That word, powering. Excited for the season. Thanks for everybody for watching. Look out for us all over the social medias as always.
Yes, very excited. All the clips will be out from this post. We'll post our big time predictions, our World Series, our hot takes and whatnot, and just very excited for the MLB season, and we'll have you covered throughout that. Talk to you guys next time.